So we also give you a section of what we call user equalizations or EQ curves. And there are two kinds of EQ in your theater. There's what we call baseline house EQ, which is where we've come in and we've done all of our test systems and programming to get the speakers matched into the acoustics of your room just the best they can possibly be. And we don't let you touch those. Those are calibrated to the room and should not be changed from show to show. They should always be the same. But knowing that sometimes you might have a soundtrack that sounds dull or something like that, we do give you a set of user EQs. And on the left, you have a set of user EQs that affects all four of your left, right, left rear, right rear channels simultaneously, since you usually want to make changes in those match as far as EQ. But the really critical one is that we give you a center channel EQ that you can play with. So let's suppose for a minute that you had a show where your soundtrack sounded really dull and lifeless or muddy. Maybe it sounded a little bit like this. You might want to possibly come into this area around 250 cycles and reduce some of that level. Now, of course, these changes we recommend you're playing the show in the theater and that you're online with the hardware in the theater and you're listening to these changes in real time. Because you can really overdo it easily if you aren't listening to what you're really doing. So maybe you come in and you go, okay, that sounds a lot better. It's not as muddy as it was. I wonder what I had before. I wonder what it sounded like before. So what you can do is hit bypass and it will give you the original setting again. And if you click back and forth, it'll let you do comparisons, A/B comparisons, okay? If, let's say you've come in and you've made some adjustments like this, and you go, well, this is a mess. I've really screwed this up. You can get a default start over just by hitting flat on the left. So something I might see if I worked in your theater would be possibly that I might be working in the 125 and 250 ranges if my show sounded a little bit muddy. I might be in the 4K range if it sounded dull. I might put a little bit of this presence up in there, which would make it sound a little bit brighter. And something like that. A little bit goes a long way in this area. And then over on the left side, which is all four of the surround speakers, you might want a little more bass in those sometimes. Not necessarily in the subwoofer, but just a fuller sound. And you could do a little something around 125, 62 in those ranges. Or if the music sounded too bright to you, too harsh, you might be able to come into 2K and reduce it a little bit. You know, that's a lifetime study of how to set an EQ curve. And we won't get that all accomplished here as far as what is right and what's not. Just keep in mind, you can bypass anything very quickly and reflatten out what you've done.